Hello everyone and welcome to today's session. Today we are presenting webinar on National Education Policy 2020 and higher education. Now I introduce today's presenter Dr. Vijay Kumar Chechi, presently serving as Professor and Head Department of Education, Lovely Professional University, Fagwada, has 20 years of experience in the field of teacher education. His researches are focused in the areas like emotional intelligence, self-regulated learning strategies, socially disadvantaged groups, bullying, teacher self-efficacy, effectiveness, academic monitoring, and motivation. He has taught courses like educational research and static measurements and evaluation, education technology, pedagogy of social science and educational management and applications of SPSS. He has guided more than 70 dissertations and 7 doctoral theses, has published 115 research papers including 11 scopes indexed in journals and books, has edited 3 books, has presented 35 papers in national and international conferences. He has remaining in the administrative positions and has been instrumental in successfully designing the curriculum, organizing placements, examinations, academic counseling, accreditation, inspections, and labs development. He has organized 7 conferences. Also, he has conducted workshops on SPSS application, use of Excel in statics, construction and standardization, constructivist-based lesson planning, and NEP 2020 for students and faculty. Along with this, he has acted as source person for various guest lectures, faculty development programs on various topics. Now I request to Dr. Vijay Kumar Chechi, please start the webinar.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning to all. Firstly, I would like to thank the principal and Mr. Dinesh specifically from the Moni G group of institutions, Batinda, for organizing this seminar and for inviting me for this webinar. The national education policy has changed the scenario of the education sector in totality in India. If we talk about the national education policy, we need to understand firstly that how the national education policy is going to change the education sector in India with respect to the higher education. Because today we are going to talk about with respect to the higher education, that how and what type of changes that are going to come up in higher education and what new things has come as a result of the introduction of this national education policy. So firstly, I would like to give a brief intro to the situation why we are into this change, because national education policy has come after 37 years of it, the previous policy, that is National Policy on Education, 1986. Now, between this large gap, there is a lot of changes has come up in the education, how we teach, the content methodologies, the change in the contents, emergence of new disciplines, and this all has resulted into need of change. The world as such has gone a drastic change in its way of doing things. We have become more global when the previous policy was there. The connectedness was there, but the advent of the internet has brought us more closer to each other. And as a result, there is greater transparency among the nations about the stage of development of different areas, clear to everybody. As a world or as a humanity, we are on a planet which is having more than 7 billion people living on this planet. And we, as educationists or policymakers, need to think about that not only the few, but all shall benefit from the education. And there are a lot of challenges that is coming up with the increased pressure of the population, resources, and all that. So as a result of that, we find that in 2015, the Sustainable Development Goals came up. And out of that, 17 goals of sustainable development, one goal that was decided by the UN is quality education. And this quality education global goal for sustainable development considers that we have to provide inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. But this is the vision, the goal or agenda of the Sustainable Development Goal for quality education. And as a result of this goal, there were different targets that have been set up for the nations, those who have become signatory to these goals. And India is also one of the signatory to these sustainable development goals. And as a result of that, there need to be changes coming up in the policies of different sectors, different government bodies. And as such, the National Education Policy 2020 is also part of the things that is resultantly making the phenomena to be made sustainable for all the people on in this country. So some of the targets that are there, and I need to discuss that why the national education policy was important, is that by 2030 we are expecting that we must ensure the equal access for all women and men to affordable quality technical, vocational, tertiary education. Now, when we expect this much, already we are having more than 900 universities and there are more than thousands colleges. But still, we find there is a lack of balanced development, balanced quality in all the institutions that we are having. So this target expects that there shall be the participation of the youth in the formal and informal or non-formal and training uh, part. And in the previous 12 months, every year, this is going to be checked by the UN with respect to the achievement of the target. Similarly, the second target related to this is the eliminating the gender disparities in education and ensuring equal access to all levels of education and vocational training for all the groups which are discriminated upon or not, they shall be provided the opportunity to gain the education coming from vulnerable groups, persons with disabilities, indigenous peoples, and the children with in vulnerable situations. So all these people are going to get in, and again the indicator has been taken up in terms of male, female, rural, urban, bottom, top, wealth quartile, and other such disability status, indigenous people. These are coming to education system or not. That will be checked upon. The third target that is related to the higher education is that most of the youth and the substantial portion of the adult must have the literacy and numeracy. Those who have been left behind due to some of their reasons of poverty or due to the vulnerable situations, they must be able to get in back into the system through different measures of open schooling, distance education, virtual learning, online learning, and they may be able to gain some kind of understanding of these uh, basic requirements of an individual. Similarly, another target is that all learners shall be able to acquire the knowledge and skills that are required to create sustainable development, and they may be able to develop sustainable lifestyles, which include having proper human rights, gender equality, promotion of a culture of peace and non-violence, global citizenship, and the appreciation of cultural diversity of the country and the contribution to the sustainable development. But these all targets, if you find them mentioned in the national education policy, we are trying to make up the situation for every individual in the country so that they may be able to get the quality education uh, in these measures. And how the indicator is going to be measured, that will be measured in terms of national education policy, curriculum, teacher education, student assessments, human rights, and like that. So this is the another target which is there for the national education policy to achieve. Then the other target that was related to the higher education is becoming gender sensitive, providing facilities for disabled, providing safe, non-violent, and inclusive and effective learning environment for all. So every individual coming from any group of the society must be able to get in the education, and this has to be ensured by providing electricity, internet, computers, infrastructure for disabled, drinking water facilities, hand washing facilities, and etc. And the sanitation facilities. Along with this, there is another point that is coming up is developing and the developed countries differences. So the target was given to the developed countries to provide more number of scholarships to the people coming from developing countries so that they may be also come to a par or level wherein their education, their vocational training or ICT and engineering disciplines should come up to the level of the developed countries. So that official assistance is also being considered as one of the way to provide a sustainable society for future. So this all has resulted into the coming up of the national education policy for higher education. The changes that we are going to see in the higher education is resultantly because of these reasons. Now, when we see the picture in our country, we find there is a lot of differences coming up. There is a lot of changes coming up in the curriculum, content, more disciplines, number of bodies. Those are regulating the institutions. And these all had come up to make up a system with more complexity, which is difficult to understand from all of the stakeholders. If we find the education policy in India, the education in India has been the priority of the policy makers. But when we find its implementation, there is sometimes we find the things are not moving on the right direction. Since the independence, we have come up with major changes in the educational setup. And we find it now also that the setup is changing. We are talking about different things, the regulatory bodies, either it is or it is the programs that are coming up. So after 1986, when we have drawn in some changes, and as a result of that, the curriculum frameworks which were prepared for implementation of these policies, they are tried to be made in line with respect to the situations that are coming up in the classroom of the school sector as well as the higher education. The national education policy also envisaged and makes up a vision for the present by the implementation of this national education policy. We are going to create a system which is going to be India centric. And this India centric system is going to transform our nation. And that nation is going to be sustainable for the achievement of all other sustainable goals also. This providing the quality education is one way to achieve sustainability. So as a result, we are going to create a society which is going to be equitable, which is going to have a vibrant knowledge, and which is uh, wherewithal for all the individuals from different countries to come up for just like we were having during the ancient times, like Nalanda and Takshila. So this is the vision that is the national education policy is wanted to achieve. The national education policy also envisaged that by 2040 we are going to achieve all this what we are transpiring for different sector, either it is the school education or higher education or the adult education or the elementary education, primary education, it is expected we are going to achieve that. The national education policy envisages that we are going to increase the GDP from the present 4% to 6% of the GDP. Now, presently, we are not spending too much on the education system. Either it is the higher education or the primary education or the secondary education. There are not many systems are working in Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan is there, Ramsa is there, Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan is there. Then there is the higher education sector is also getting a lot of funds in the thing from the research point of view. But still, we are not able to reach the desired spending of more than 4% to going to the required 6%, which can be expected to be coming up with respect to achievement of the goals of the nation, wherein equality education as well as universality of access of education is there. The present national education policy has different points in consideration, and it is talking about many things. It is talking about different points on from school sector point of view, from higher education point of view, from the primary sector point of view, teacher education point of view. The main three areas wherein the policy talks about is the teacher education, school sector, and the higher education. Now, coming to the higher education point, that what changes that the higher education is going to have as a result of the implementation of national education policy, I would like to explain some points on the higher education that first and foremost that the higher education trying to achieve is that presently we are not having the gross enrollment ratio of in the university education above 15%. But if we want to create a sustainable society, we need to have the gross enrollment ratio in the university system up to 50%. So this is the target that has been set up by the national education policy, that we will be able to get in 50% individuals coming out from the 10 plus 2 entering into the university system. Now, from the start of the implementation of Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan, we have found that in the school sector, the entry has been achieved more than 90%. But by the time they come up to the 12th or 10th, the number of individuals leaving the system is increasing very fast. And if we come into the education at the higher education level or university education, we find that not more than 15% are taking entry into the system. So by introducing different ways of teaching or getting earning the degrees or getting education, either it is physical, online, distance, correspondence, the universities are, the UGC, the higher education or Ministry of Education is open to that. The national education policy aims to give them the weightage that is required. Now, how this is going to happen? So, for that, one of the major recommendations of the national education policy for higher education is the flexible curriculum structure. The flexible curriculum structure says that you can go with UG program of 3 years or 4 years. Now, this is the one aspect that any undergraduate degree can be of 3 years or 4 years, and wherein there will be a 3 year undergraduate program, the candidate need to go for 2 years of master program. And wherever the undergraduate degree will be of 4 years, the candidate will be going for 1 year of master program. And this has been there for all the areas of education. So PG programs is now coming up, now going to be revised again with respect to 1 year or 2 years. And similarly, UG programs are going to be revised for 3 years and 4 years. The fourth year is going to be the research component. So, meaning thereby the things, either UG program is sufficient to take care of the research input, or those who have going to not do the research part, they are going to do it in their postgraduate program when they will be going through for 2 years. Then there will be third kind of integrated programs are going to be offered. So from starting from after 10 plus 2, you can go for 3 year program, you can go for 4 year program with the research component, and you can go for 5 year integrated program, which will be equivalent to the masters. So this is the point that have been added up. The another is the that multiple entry and exit system has been added up. That you can change the universities, you can take on the credits from one university to another in order to get that. Another aspect is that you can have multiple number of subjects. There will be no clear cut differentiation with respect to the subjects that we choose, that we select for our graduation. We can have mathematics with music, we can have the mathematics with commerce. Now, these type of choices will be there, and the child is going to have more option to interact with the children from different programs. So that multidisciplinary education is being promoted by the national education policy in order to encourage the multidisciplinary interactions and research. The standalone institutions that are the norm of the today, like the B.Ed programs that we are having, we are going with single B.Ed program, and the sustainability of our programs is very low, since 7 or 8 teachers are teaching 100 odd children, and year after year there is no continuity with respect to traditions that are being followed by the children, by the students. Wherever there will be a longer duration programs and there will be more number of people with numerous degrees and also of different durations, there will be more interaction and there will be more traditional traditions and culture of the system of the institution that is going to be followed year after year, and there can be improvement that is possible. So in the standalone institutions where there is the a specific set of skills or specific set of people are interacting with the children, now that is not going to benefit. So this is the important and major recommendation of the national education policy, that all institutions, those who are standalone institution, either they are engineering or the management or they are the degree programs or the teacher education programs, they have to go for multidisciplinary aspects. They have to incorporate more number of programs in order to provide the environment of multidisciplinary. Another aspect of the, just like UG programs have been created for 3 or 4 years, there will be flexibility in the master program. That firstly, the combination that is going to arise is going to be coming up a master program of 2 years, which is having the second year totally for research. This will be done by the students, those who are completing the UG program of 3 years. So, what was the fourth year in the UG program was research. For those who are not going to do it in the UG program of 3 years, will be doing that research component in the 1 year of the master program. The second combination of the master level program is that for those who are having UG program of 4 years, and they are going to go for 1 year program and will be given the degree for their masters. And the type 3 will be those who are having the choice for going for the 5 year master program that will be inclusive of the bachelors. So this is the changes that are coming into the system. Then the government, the national education policy has suggested for the credit transfers of the candidates, that credit transfers, because the present system wherein there is not only the physical or the direct teaching is there, but there are a lot of other modes are there available, just like distance education is there, the correspondence education is there, the today online learning is there, and there is lot of agencies that are providing the books, the open online courses. So those courses are the one of the ways of getting the credits for the children, for the students, those who want to learn. So it is not so that the quality of credits earned in a distance mode or online mode are not equivalent to the physical mode. They will be all equivalent, and if somebody is having done those credits, so he will be getting the benefit of that, and that is going to be one of the major advantage which is not present. Another aspect is there is the movement from one university to another, that will be made more easier. Then the institutions are going to be focused not just in terms of making the multidisciplinary nature, but also the higher education institutions has to become the research intensive universities. Now there is going to be a system wherein the institutions will be known for either their research competence or for their teaching competence or for both. And this is the one major recommendation, that we are going to create the universities or autonomous colleges which are going to be known for their specific aspect. And the government is also thinking of introducing the multidisciplinary universities in almost all districts of the country. The open learning and distance education will be one of the major initiative of the government, the starting of the MOOCs and ensuring good quality of MOOCs getting the certification. The students can earn the credits to going through these MOOC courses, and they will be getting the credits for in their programs for doing that. And also the achievement of the 50% gross enrollment ratio will be possible by the introduction of open learning and distance education. So the government is more focused on giving the required acceptance and the required presence of open learning in distance education in the system of after this introduction of national education policy. There will be autonomy more of into the system. The government at present is thinking on the term that there are more number of institutions which are having getting the affiliated, and they need to get in for lot number of permissions and regulations in order to start new programs, in order to appoint the faculty like those. So as a result of that, the government is more in the thinking that we need to create a system where there will be more number of universities, those who are going to be self-funded or self-financed, and also there will be either in the government sector or the private sector, there will be colleges which need not to get the affiliation system, and there will be individual institutions which will be autonomous in the awarding the degrees. So this is the one major aspect that the system of affiliation is going to be out by 2035. Then the national mission of mentoring is there, that is going to be started up, and as a result we are talking about in terms of memorandum of understanding with different colleges and universities. Now the good quality institutions or IITs have been asked to create the mentorship programs for the other colleges, those who are not able to provide the good quality teaching and research. So the mentoring system is being started in the higher education for giving the quality to all the areas of different far off or the near off uh, educational institutions. Another is the government is thinking of creating, and also there is a regulation coming up that higher education grants council is going to be created. That is going to be uh, one body that is going to give the grants for all the institution, irrespective of the private and the government sector. Then there is going to be this higher education council is going to be drawing the policies, the recruitment, the curriculum for all the programs. There will be no different regulators like we are having present for teacher education. There is NCTE. For law, there is Bar Council of India. For pharmacy, there is Pharmacy Council of India. For medical, there is MCI, Medical Council of India. For engineering, you have AICTE. So all these are going to be merged into a single uh, institution, that is Higher Education Council, Grants Council. And since the advice of the Higher Education Grant Council will be more toward research, it will not have the things that are the multidisciplinary institutions or the autonomous institutions will be having being controlled by the this council. Since it is more said that they will be able to do autonomous institutions through multidisciplinary institutions, there will be more powers with the institutions that they can start with new programs, they can include new courses, they can recruit their faculty on their own. All these systems need to be there, because one of the major weakness of present system is there that we are not able to attract the students from the abroad We are not able to get the grants from the abroad. We are in sometimes finding it difficult to recruit the required persons. So those, there are not many rules and regulations are there which are creating the problems with respect to introduction of new ideas into the education system. So that is required. Then there will be online self-disclosure based transparent system for approvals. The online system or the technology is going to be used much more than required, than is presently being used, because the presently we are taking up lot many approvals, but and there are inspections coming up, but in spite of that there will be online self-disclosure systems are going to be there for getting all type of approvals. Then there are norms that are going to be created and that will be common for everybody. Now, at present, the private institutions are not being allowed for many of the research fundings or things that are being there in the government sector. So those will be equated that through the implementation of national education policy. And there will be fee fixation. Now that will be one more regulatory framework that is coming up for all the institutions, which is going to take care of the regulatory aspect, that how much fee can be charged by the private sector or the other institutions or public sector, which can come up for providing certain education. Now this all is the one aspect of the scenario as we are thinking about in terms of getting the public investment reaching up to the 6%. At present, we are having the national research funding, and only 0.65% of the funding is there that is going on for research. Now, this need to be increased to at least 2% in order to get in some reasonable kind of the good quality publications, good quality innovations, or the scientific discoveries wherein we can think of in terms of getting the Nobel Prizes. Now, that is the one major recommendation of this uh, document, that we are expecting that more focus will be there on the research, since we are talking about introduction of the research in the UG programs as well as in the PG programs, apart from the PhD program. The MPhil has been not been considered and it has been disapproved and will not be continued in future by the in the higher education. After 4 years, you can go for the PhD program, or you can go for the 5 year program. You can go for a 3+2 UG and 2 years master. You can go for a PhD program. So that is going to be there. There is more going to be focused, that I had already said, that we are not able to attract the number of students from the other countries. We are not advertising ourselves. We are not focusing on international students. So that is going to be another important recommendation, wherein we are going to attract more number of international talent, and that will be allowing university to have a more diverse community at the campuses. So that will be the important recommendation. And this is also one of the major point wherein our institutions, government institutions, which are coming up regularly in the international rankings, up to 200 institutions, that will be going up. Just they are having the lack just of because of this thing, internationalization of education, either getting the recruitment from the foreign countries or getting the students from the foreign countries is presently not there. So that is going to be coming up in a big way as a result of the implementation of national education policy. Then there is going to be the integration of the vocational teacher and the professional education, all are going to come up into one sector, and there will be different programs being developed for different levels. Then more number of new quality higher education institutions which are going to be started by the private philanthropic institutions or the government will be made more easier, and there will be being approvals being tried to be given more easier. The that is going to be the another important recommendation in order to achieve the aim of national education policy. There will be multidisciplinary, more number of multidisciplinary colleges. The, the target is that we are going to create 15,000 large institutions which are going to be known for different type of research things. The type one of institutions will be known for their quality research and the quality teaching, and the type two institutions will be known for just for their quality teaching and some amount of contribution to the research. And third type of institutions will be the colleges which is going to be known for the undergraduate program with high quality teaching. So this is the focus that is there, that more big institutions shall be there instead of universities affiliating to the different colleges. So giving the colleges the autonomy and providing them the opportunity to start the programs, to run the programs, to do the research and develop themselves into some kind of program, some kind of institutions in either of these three categories. Apart from this, the Indian knowledge system, sorry, the special education zone need to be created for the regions or for the districts wherein the education system has not been able to come up to a certain level. So that is another important recommendation is there, that the disadvantaged regions or the tribal regions which are backward regions, therein there will be specific zones will be created to get the provide the education to people at nearby places or from their home. Then there will be importance given to the India-centric system, and that for that the National Institute will be created for the Pali, Persian, and the Prakrit languages, and those just like we are having presently the Sanskrit Vishwavidyalaya, there will be the Vidyalayas on these languages. Then National Educational Technology Forum is going to be there, which is going to encourage the usage of technology in the higher education, either for creation of the e-content or for the implementation, administration, or the uh, openness of the institution, transparency. For them, this the forum will be created, and it is going to make the things more online for about every institution. Another important recommendation that is there, that we are now going to rename our MHRD as the Ministry of Education, and there is going to be a Rashtriya Shiksha Ayog being created, which is going to be headed by the Prime Minister, and there will be some members to it, those who are going to decide about what is the future requirement of the programs, or what future requirement of the teachers, or what areas need to be focused upon in future for making the nations ready for the 2020 next century. Then another important recommendation is the National Higher Education Qualification Framework is going to be created. This framework will be responsible to create the graduation attributes and to prepare the learning outcomes that are required from the graduates to earn, to develop as a part of the programs they are in. So that is again important recommendation of the national education policy to create the national education framework. Then there is a lot of focus that is going to be there towards the Indian knowledge systems, languages, culture, and values. Not only the Pali, Prakrit, and the Persian language are going to be given important, but also the literature and the scientific vocabulary or Indian languages are going to be given importance. There will be institutions being set up. There is going to be more focus on the research in the languages, and also the language literature is going to be created, because we find that very less number of individuals are studying their UG programs in respect of their in English language. So there is requirement that the literature need to be created in the region for different programs. So that is going to be another focus of the national education policy to be achieved by as a result of the national education policy 2020. Then there is going to be Indian Institute of Translation and Interpretation, which is going to help out in getting the importance or getting the works in the different uh, literatures, because we always find there is lot of literature is available that is there in the Sanskrit, Tamil, or the Dravidian languages, and that is not known to us. So as a result of that, this Indian Institute is going to create that knowledge being translated into different languages, so that our knowledge system shall be aware and to the world as well as to the Indian population. There need to be creation of the universities wherein the traditional arts and the Lok Vidya are going to be promoted, and there will be specific centers going to be developed for that. This is going to be the another important uh, thing that is going to be there. Another is the higher education institutions are going to have the importance given to the artists of different uh, disciplines to be given more importance in the teaching, because generally they are being lagged in the in the in the class coursework of the different program. So providing them into an in campus or the arrangements for their participation will help in making the programs more inclusive and more related to the art and music or the performing arts. Then lastly, the national education policy has also very emphatically said the use of technology in all aspects of the system, either that is planning or the teaching or learning or assessment, or it is the management, or either it is the regulation of the colleges or universities. The technology has been enabled in order to make the things more easier for the universities to function. And also there will be, I had already talked about that disadvantaged groups will be given special privileges in order to make their assess in the institutions. The institutions has to become friendly for them. There will be the young friendly softwares are going to be there, and the e-contents are going to be created in the regional languages that is not at present. So that will be focused upon in order to make more things in the regional flavor, in order to get the education system coming up in a big way, in order to get the nation coming up into a mood wherein we can also boast that our universities are ranking in the top 100 institutions of the world, being so many universities at running at present, but still we are only coming up of up to 200. We are not still has not crossed the 100 benchmark, and that is the aim with which this national education policy has been drafted, in order to see that our institution shall also come into the system that we will be proud of our education system, and we should be known for the quality education. So with this, I thank you and complete my presentation on national education policy for higher education. Thank you. Over to you, madam.
Thank you, everyone. We will appreciate you being here. Now I request to our principal, Ms. Amninder Kaur, for thanking to you all.
Good morning, all of us. On behalf of our Moneji group of institutions of Laram Hopper, thanks to those thanks to those who have directly indirectly contribute to this web seminar, Education Policy 2020 Higher Education. I thank our resource persons. We have really enlightened with your knowledge. Thank you, Eta. Thank you, all of you, once again. Thank you. इतना कम इसे आवाज मेरा तेज
Thanks again for joining us today and subscribe our channel for more informative webinar or seminars. Thank you everyone.